Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Loads of drama going on lately, and because the biggest drama last night was so closely aligned to the competitive Call of Duty community and there was just so much reaction to it, that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to do my best to break it all down for you guys, explain where this drama originated, what it ended up resulting in, and also so much of reaction from around the community, because a lot of the guys that built our scene and our ecosystem in CoD competitive esports know exactly what it takes to get to that point. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. This was what was going on last night. Nadeshot, of course, legendary founding father of the Call of Duty competitive world, now of course CEO and founder of 100 Thieves, was getting into some drama with Froste. Now Froste, of course, if you guys don't know, prime Twitterer from, well, a couple of years ago really, when he was part of the mob. If you guys remember the mob, I think they were pretty well known at the time, and definitely I used to see their tweets, thought it was pretty funny. Now they joined and became a part of 100 Thieves briefly for, I don't know, maybe a year or so, I forget exactly how long it was. Then they parted ways because I guess they couldn't really see things working out. But I think Nadeshot and the 100 Thieves all gave them a chance to become bigger than they were, give them a platform to build upon, and it was Froste, Mako, I believe was at the time, Classify, and Avalanche, right? And I thought it was interesting actually when all this was kicking off from Froste that none of those other guys were getting involved, like the Avalanche guy especially. I used to kind of like the stuff that he was putting out, but I mean look, anyway, this is where it kicked off yesterday pretty much. So Froste says, damn, I missed the mob house, and then he says, imagine we had enough money to where we didn't have to stress over where our next meal was coming from. Could have done some big things, but I guess we'll never know. Now it goes on to say we were so broke, and it's like, hang on a second here, you've got an organization behind you, why aren't they giving you the proper funding? Saying, you know, they couldn't afford to do anything that was worth filming. You have no idea how much we asked to try and get funding and stuff, talk about the amount of money that they were getting paid per month, but then their rent was like, you know, $2,500 each per month. They were only getting paid $1,650. They couldn't afford to buy food unless they begged their parents to give them some money and stuff like this, and saying they had to turn down a $20k a month sponsorship deal because it conflicted with the sponsorship side of things. And then of course, well, it kind of concludes with this, talking about the sponsorship stuff, that 100 Thieves were taking 95% of their sponsorship and effectively were just trying to, well, be predatory to the mob, right? 100 Thieves brought them in to try and take advantage of them and strip them for all their worth and, you know, make money off them, not the other way around, and then of course drop them a little bit later. So of course this was kicking off. Now what I've got to say is when I first saw this, I was like, this is interesting, because the other guys involved in the mob aren't exactly commenting on this, right? It's not like Avalanche is coming in and backing Froste up here, and yeah, he says, you know, he's just sad about the result of it. So I was kind of confused, and this was even being mentioned as well. I don't believe these tweets maybe are still up. He's probably deleted them at this point, but this is when they were released from the mob in May last year. I hope you guys don't think I'm happy to be out of 100 Thieves. They're a great organization. They never treated me wrong. As far as orgs go, 100T is the best compared to some horror stories I've ever heard. I also felt like I was making too much money while on there, so I left to force myself to hustle harder. So yeah, I don't know what Froste's comments will be on this, but rather contradictory, wouldn't you say, from when he left the organization to what he was saying today. Now of course Nadeshot isn't, you know, obviously everyone was talking about this, so wow, 100 Thieves were an awful organization, so Nadeshot's gonna have to come out and comment on this. He goes live just the once and does a stream talking about it. It doesn't start off too well for him because Froste was actually in the chat still as a moderator, and of course Froste being incredibly intelligent, he just drops the cap in there because, you know, that three-letter word immediately invalidates the entirety of the argument that the other person is trying to make. But I think eventually Froste was removed, or whatever the case was, and Nadeshot gave his perspective on the matter. Now Froste was still coming back with his point of view, talking about like, yeah, okay, it's insane how much he's lying right now, the cap is crazy, wow, he's got 20, I think he almost had like 50k at one point. It's like, wow, the mob still got that juice, all this type of stuff. These were kind of Froste's reactions anyway. Eventually goes live later and gets kind of roasted. But so yeah, I'll share, and Jake, like he was kind of breaking down exactly what Nadeshot said. I'll show a couple of clips here from Nadeshot's perspective on the fact of the matter is, from his point of view at the very least, those guys, they moved them into a house and they just didn't put in the work.
I thought, on top of the fact that we brought them out to LA and we moved 4 best friends into a home together, I thought that this could only be productive. This could only be, you know, the perfect situation and scenario for all of these guys. They didn't work. They didn't make videos. They didn't stream. But if you really want to go look at stats, and you really want to look at the work that was done while we're bringing these deals in, while we're paying these salaries, and while we're supporting them as much as we can. Back in the day when you would join FaZe or you joined OpTic, you weren't making any money. Like when you got onto the team, that's when you made it. And being on that team was what allowed you to have an opportunity to grow your audience even bigger and to make more money. But back in the day, we didn't even have a Twitch sub button. You know, we were sitting there with the opportunity that Hector gave us with OpTic, And you got to tip the cap to Hector because he got us a house and we didn't have to worry about anything at all. I slept on an air mattress for a year and a half. I didn't have a salary. We were paying player buyouts for players that we wanted to bring over to our competitive team. And Hector was in a really tough position because we were sitting there trying to figure out how all these organizations were making money because we couldn't figure it out. You know, they were bringing on sponsors, but even then sponsors, like sometimes you would see a team 10 years ago with a sponsorship and they were just giving product. And so Hector, you know, for as ahead of his time as he was, he got us into a house. We didn't have to pay rent, but we weren't making any money. And it was very much an eat what you kill mentality. You know, he was just fanning the flame, fostering an environment for us to have an opportunity to do what we love. And we knew that. And so that's why we were up every single day in the master bedroom of the content house, stacked 5 heads deep on fold-out tables and chairs, streaming 12 hours a day. You finish your stream, you get off, you upload a YouTube video, you go to sleep, you wake up, you do it again. Every day. Every day. Because I wasn't going back to McDonald's and I wasn't going back to community college. 100 Thieves saved me from what I thought was like the biggest mistake of my life. You know, I love Hector like a brother and Scump and a lot of those guys, Embos. I have a really close relationship still with them to this day.
And the other part of it was the fact that like, in that local vicinity, apparently they had to be like 15 minutes away from the 100T headquarters or the compound or whatever. And therefore the only house they could get was like 10K a month, right? But I think even he was looking up houses they could have got. And even in the housing market now, it probably wasn't as bad now as it would have been. So the argument was they could have got a cheaper house. They could have got an apartment, which would have been better for them than what they actually ended up getting, right, in that local area. And also at the end of the day, it seems like Nadeshot was paying them 60 grand a year each just as like a straight up salary. That's before any of the sponsorship stuff was coming in. And yes, 100 Thieves, I think we're taking 85% at the end of the sponsorship stuff, but at least they were bringing them some deals and stuff like this. And they were trying to support them in some way to make content, right? To look, at the end of the day, a lot of people are saying, well, look, you got paid 60K a year to live in a house and be on 100 Thieves. Like a lot of people would, you know, they would pay money to Nadeshot to give them the chance to be part of 100 Thieves and build a brand as a result of it, right? So, I mean, yeah, people weren't taking particularly kindly to Froste's turn of events here, and especially within the CoD scene, right? Because many of the guys that have been around this scene for a very long period of time, they know that like things don't just get given to you, right? Like you have to work hard for this, and that's the thing that Nadeshot was saying, right? Like Nadeshot's story as someone who, like anyone really in even life in general, but especially in esports, and especially CoD esports, like anyone should find Nadeshot's story is incredibly inspirational, right? This guy went from nothing. If you guys know the story about his mother and stuff like this, you should look into it because like, he was working at McDonald's, making minimum wage. He quit that job, went to move into the OpTic house, getting paid nothing at all, and just thought like he's gonna stream every day, all day, and yeah, make YouTube videos, try and do what he can to build a brand with Scump and with Hex and those other guys on OpTic. They made it successful from there, of course, became a successful Call of Duty professional player himself, and then made the big leap, Nadeshot, to leave OpTic, go on to start 100 Thieves, and then of course, well, become the founder and CEO of one of the biggest and most successful and, well, highest worth organizations in the entirety of esports, one of the most exciting organizations really in the entertainment industry, I would say, in general. So Nadeshot's been killing it, and that's not just come from sitting back and getting handouts and chilling. This guy worked so hard for it, and that's why everyone respects Nadeshot in the CoD scene so highly. And guys like Doug were in a similar boat, right? And there's so many players just like Doug, just like Nade, that came up and, you know, built this scene, because without these guys doing what they did for many years, this competitive Call of Duty scene would not be what it was. Activision wouldn't have taken note as much as they did, and eventually created the franchise league we have today, and the money that's now in it, where pro players or just, you know, influencers like Froste can come along and actually get a salary for this, because guys like Nadeshot built this from the ground up. That's kind of what, you know, Doug is saying here. Like Nadeshot went from working McDonald's to owning a multi-million-dollar esports company. You either want it or you'll get replaced by someone who wants it more than you. Went on to say this, right? FaZe gave me their branding rights. So Doug's story as well, saying like in FaZe, he pretty much didn't get anything from FaZe, but he got the FaZe branding and he built it from there, right? He took the FaZe name in his bio and built that into a crazy successful YouTube channel and everything from beyond of that, right? Like he says, he'd never expect them back in the day to even pay him $1. So that's the thing that people are saying about this whole Frosty stuff. Is like, look, he was even getting paid for this and he just wasn't putting in the time. He was streaming, what, 40 hours per month or something like that. The viewers weren't really coming through. They were complaining about the fact that there was no internet in the house, but it's like, look, you chose the house. It's your responsibility to make sure there's internet. And I think Frosty was saying that only one of them could stream at a time or something. It's like, there's not really 100 Thieves' fault, you know, put in the work. So there was plenty more reaction to this, of course, from around the scene, like even Maven and H, right? other guys that are in a similar boat. As Maven says, I made way less than that when I first signed with MLG, to a tweet that's now been deleted from Froste. And as X said, I made 10% of that after winning 7 or 8 events in Black Ops 2. 500 a month, went crazy at 18. That's the thing, even X, right, and the Complexity guys, the best team in the game, were making $500 a month. That was the first, like, contract in Call of Duty. These guys have sacrificed so much to become professional Call of Duty players, and they're making like $500 a month, and that was killing it, right? And obviously they kept working hard for years to become where they are today. And even guys like Hitch, right, not just the pro players, but, you know, people like Hitch who are pumping out documentaries, you know, vision episodes, vlogs, all this stuff week after week. The people who actually made it in the scene are these people who are putting in, you know, hard graft day in, day out, even before they even got noticed, right? Which is, you know, people like Beans are saying it as well. When did it become impressive to sacrifice everything for your dream? Is that not the norm, right? And this is the thing, a load of these guys we've been talking about, they sacrificed an awful lot for this, and so did Nadeshot, right? And that's why I think people are taking his side so much in this story, is because, you know, you don't get anywhere without the hard work. And Zuma was coming out with his story as well, the fact that, you know, he'd be driving to events, right? Because that's the thing, these guys back in the day, they were sacrificing everything, sacrificing school, sacrificing college to just try and make it as a COD pro, and, you know, they'd be driving, trying to pick up players, sleeping in, you know, one single room. They'd be trying to, like, get a hotel room off someone at the event to be like, oh yeah, can I just crash into your room this night at the event? Like, crazy the stories that were going on. And not to really make it about me, but like, I thought it would be interesting to share a story of like how this channel was built, right? So I built a lot of this channel when I was making, you know, at least one video a day back in 2018 when I was at university. And then I went to work full time for a year, like a placement year from university. I was getting up maybe 7:45 or something, and get to work for 9, work until 5:30, come home at about 6, and then I'd make a video, right, until about, yeah, 7:30, almost 8. I'd make dinner, it'd be 9, and I'd pretty much just go to bed, right? So like that was the day that I had. And then when I came back to university, I was doing a couple of videos in the morning, then university work in the afternoon. Like, yeah, I don't know. The channels just don't build themselves, right? You've got to put in the time. And a lot of people just see the end product and think it's been, yeah, easy all the way along. But that's very rarely the story. And I think it's a familiar story for a lot of these guys today. And even guys like Rated, right? Of course, well-known Call of Duty player, a professional player, but now he's kind of with 100 Thieves on the Warzone side. And he's like, look, that kind of hit the spot when he needed it the most in terms of motivation. Starting tomorrow, 10 to 12 hour streams at 6 days a week. He's back in business. Even guys like Cam Allen, right? Of course, analyst this season for the Royal Ravens, saying he's working 2 jobs, earning like not that much money, working 16+ hour days, trying to fit in the analyst stuff as well to make sure he got the CDL role. A lot of people have sacrificed an awful lot. You know, when I was coming home from work and people were going out and stuff, but I was like, look, I've got to get this video done because I want to keep the upload streak going. Like, you know, things like that over the long run pay off, but in the short term can be difficult, right? So that's the thing. People are like, look, this Frosty guy was making, you know, 2.5K a month or whatever the salary was over there, with potential more sponsorship revenue coming through, and just wasn't quite putting in the work. You know, they moved him out to LA, being part of 100 Thieves. A lot of people would, you know, kill for such an opportunity, to be honest, right? And of course, Octane's going to say, we're all Nadeshot stands at the end of the day. I'm sure, of course, the COD community is going to be biased towards Nadeshot on this one just because of what he is and what he's done for the scene. But, you know, even as Alicat says, I'd be a 100T creator of a freshly baked warm chocolate chip cookie a month, right? Being part of 100 Thieves gives you massive platform and opportunity that some may not necessarily have taken advantage of. And even this from Classify, right? Part of the mob back in the day when it still existed, saying, look, don't stop taking chances on smaller creators. Like, there's a lot of dope people out there that are actually going to put in the work and take advantage of these opportunities, right? Saying sorry that they effectively weren't able to do that. So, yeah, difficult situation. I mean, this, of course, is the classic one, if you guys haven't seen it, from Hex, really, where he says, if you want to make it, especially in esports, there's no 6 days. Like, you've got to stay up, you've got to put in the work. I mean, Hex, of course, another great example of this that I haven't even mentioned so far with all the other guys. So, I mean, yeah, definitely tweet your thoughts on this on the comment section. Like, I thought that it was interesting, bit of drama, really, especially the reaction from the COD scene definitely made it worthwhile talking about. And, well, especially because it's so kind of integral, really, to how the scene was built and how esports was built in general. And a lot of the Call of Duty guys are key foundational members of exactly that. And, I mean, yeah, I thought it was really funny room to real, to be fair. All this talk about Frosty starving, TacticalRab ain't starving this past month. But it's taken a lot of work to get to this point where you can capitalize on stuff like this and the drama of the last few weeks. But yes, definitely tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. I might just finish out with this funny clip as well, because Frosty's stream turned on, and yeah, he was kind of getting roasted a fair bit, and this was a good example as to why. But very much enjoy your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you were new as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.
You literally provided no proof? Bro, because for me to provide proof, like, what is there to provide proof of? Like, why would I be lying?